All right, what is going on, everyone? We are back. It has been a while since I've come on here, recorded for you guys, went live. Just been crazy busy over the past, 3 to 4 weeks with the free 21-day challenge that we did for the month of February. With everybody that signed up for that, we took on a ton of like new clients for that free challenge. Essentially, giving a lot of people kind of the one-on-one client experience with some limitations, just because was a group challenge with so many people. But that was a lot of work bringing everybody on, but it was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to see just some of the mental breakthroughs so many of you guys had in just 21 days, and even some of the physical transformation. So if you did participate in the challenge fully, we will be announcing the winners here this week, likely in the next couple of days, but for sure by the end of this week, as I'm recording this, we'll be announcing the winners there. So be on the lookout for that. So that was, really fun. And then we had a number of people who continued through the challenge, who ended up signing up for one-on-one coaching afterwards, and a lot of people who actually signed up for one-on-one coaching before the challenge even took place. So just been honestly crazy busy with all of that, and just making sure everyone's taken care of on that end. So really fun stuff there. But I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about just the thoughts I was having, this afternoon today, about just how investing in yourself, but not even investing in yourself. Let's say you're not even getting a coach, even just this journey in general of trying to lose weight, trying to eat healthier, get in better shape, can feel selfish, because even if you're not investing in a coach financially, it still can feel selfish because you are having to maybe take some time away from your kids to maybe go to the gym, or maybe to go down in the basement and work out, or to maybe work out, in a room upstairs, but you're spending time away from your kids, or you're not able to play with their dolls, or play with this, specifically, or play this game with them because you're like, hey, mommy has to get her workout in. Or maybe you're trying to plan your meals and actually do some meal prep, and they're wanting to have you do this or that with them, and you have to kind of say no and be like, hey, I can do it afterwards, whatever it may be, right? There are circumstances in this journey, whether it be financially, investing in a gym membership or a coach or whatever it may be, or time investment, that you will feel like, hey, this feels kind of selfish because I could be spending this time or money, my kids. And this really hit home for a couple of reasons. One is, I just got off of a call with a now one-on-one client who we had a call about coaching about 5 weeks ago. And she decided not to invest in one-on-one coaching then, 5 weeks ago. This was the end of January, because essentially she had all of this guilt associated with, okay, investing money on herself and spending money on herself, hiring a coach. Okay, that's money I could be spending on my kids in this way or that way. And then also, she was going through a job transition, so I think that kind of made it feel like it was a little bit overwhelming as well. But a big part of what she said was why she didn't sign up was because she just kept, like, she couldn't get over the fact that, hey, like, I'm going to be spending money on myself, and I'm going to feel guilty about that, which is how a lot of women, especially moms feel, right? Because, you're, from the moment you become, a mother, even through pregnancy, I'm sure you have this like flip that switched in your head of, okay, like, it's not about me, it's about my kids and my family, and I need to take care of them, right? And you end up putting yourself on the back burner. So this really stuck with me because, I was having a conversation with this client today, and she ended up reaching out actually via text this morning and was like, hey, like, I want to talk about coaching again. So we got on a call and talked about it, and she did sign up now. And she was beating herself up about waiting 5 weeks. She's like, I wish I would have started sooner. And I can't tell you how many times I've had these conversations with people where they say no initially because of basically those reasons that I just mentioned. And then usually it's 6 months later or a year later, we have get on another call and they end up taking the leap and they regret not starting sooner. So I was like, hey, I know 5 weeks isn't a short amount of time, but in the grand scheme of things, compared to what I'm used to, usually it's months later when somebody ends up realizing, hey, I'm not going to achieve this on my own. I really do need to, sign up where they do. So props to her for, taking initiative and doing it, within just 5 weeks. But super excited for the progress she's going to make. But this whole topic conversation popped up in my head because of that conversation I had with her, but also for another reason. The other reason why this topic popped up in my head was, today would be my dad's birthday. So if a lot of you guys might not know, depending on how many videos you've watched of this, or how many lives, podcasts, whatever it may be, and how much of my content you pay attention to, but today would be my dad's birthday. It would be his 2026. It would be his first birthday, actually, which is crazy. But he passed away about 5 years ago, in 2021, and The reason why this connected with me is because so many people think investing in their health, whether it be a financial investment or maybe just a time investment, is a selfish decision. But you underestimate how much the decision to actually invest time and money into your own self and your own health can be a selfish decision in the long run and actually help, your kids, if that's the people that you're feeling selfish towards, how it can help them in the long run. Because my dad, when he passed away, his health was pretty like deteriorating over the past multiple months before he did die. Um, I'll try to kind of sum it up, quickly, but essentially um, had I mean, if you kind of remember my story, he had heart issues for as long as I can remember. He had his first heart attack before I was even born. He ended up having heart surgery when I was a little kid. He ended up having multiple stents put in along the way as I grew up through middle school, high school, all of that. He had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar that was uncontrolled, you name it. And this led to a variety of issues down the road. And one big consequence of uncontrolled blood sugar and even uncontrolled blood pressure, too, is kidney issues, and he ended up getting kidney disease and ended up needing dialysis for the last, I believe it was like few months of his life. And dialysis really takes a toll on your body, and especially your overall energy levels, your fatigue, and your muscle mass, especially if you are somebody who is struggling to eat enough, especially eat enough protein, and especially if you're somebody who does not strength train or resistance train. Basically, the dialysis process of kind of filtering your blood out because your kidneys are not doing that for you, you end up losing a lot of amino acids in the blood, and that can, impact your maintenance of muscle mass. So his health slowly deteriorated that way of just getting weaker, losing a lot of weight, losing a lot of muscle. And on top of that, he was dealing with some kind of swallowing issue that may or may not have been related to that, and just couldn't keep food down, and just food was not appetizing. So he essentially was just slowly withering away because of that. I don't know when exactly it started, but during the last like couple of months or at least few months of his life, he was basically in a wheelchair and just could not walk at all. And I was living about an hour and a half away in like kind of the Canal Fulton, Canton, Akron area where I currently live now. So I didn't see him as often as like my sister did. But she took care of him all the time. And like there were a couple of times where I went home and, getting him in and out of the car for dialysis was a struggle. Like we had to basically pick him up and transfer him from the wheelchair to the car with very little help that he could give us at all because he was so weak and had very minimal strength. And even there was a time where, just to be like frank and upfront, right? The realities of this happening as you get older and you don't take care of yourself, or maybe you lose strength, is like he couldn't even stand to wipe himself after going to the bathroom, and he needed assistance doing that. And my dad was somebody who would literally be the last person to ever ask for help for anything. Like he would suffer in silence for so long and and with really whatever it is before he asked for help. And sometimes I kind of have that tendency too. So for him to need help for something like that, as simple as like somebody holding him up and somebody else having to wipe him for himself was, I'm sure incredibly hard for him to deal with. And I know it was based on just, his mindset and things he said, while that was happening and everything. But it was also hard on like obviously, myself as I helped, but I really wasn't there as often, to be honest. And it was mostly, my sister having to do it. Was extremely hard, I'm sure, on her. And like, let's just say in a hypothetical world, right? He took care of his health better. He resistance trained, he worked out, he lifted, he took care of his nutrition, he made sure he didn't have uncontrolled blood pressure, uncontrolled blood sugar. He ended up not dealing with these kidney issues long term and not ending up going on dialysis. He could have had a lot more muscle mass and a lot more strength, and maybe would have dealt with nearly many of those issues, if not all of them, to where like that scenario might have not have happened, right? There are some people who have more of a peaceful death where like they get older and yeah, they see some strength decreases, and they aren't able to do everything that they could have done, 20, 30 years before, but they're physically capable for the most part of doing things until like they do shortly pass. But he had a very raw death in the sense of just really seeing like the human body and his body really just not be able to do basic human things, and having to rely on his kids, because at this point my mom had passed away 2 years prior to this, which I'll kind of get into in a second after my dad's story. But my mom wasn't around to, help him. So he had to rely on just us, right? And like I said, mostly it was my sister because I lived an hour and a half away, almost 2 hours away. And like, what a selfish thing to do for him to lift weights, take care of himself leading up to that point, and then not have to deal with these issues and not have to rely on his kids to have to take care of him that way. And it's not like we didn't want to, we obviously we're so willing to repay that to my dad and for all of the times he's taking care of us, right? Like, it's not that we did it out of we were anger or frustrated or anything, but you as a parent, maybe as a mom who feels like, oh, this is selfish for me to invest in myself, whether it's time or money, and being strong, taking care of myself, losing the weight so I stay healthy and don't deal with these health issues. Well, what's going to happen if you don't? If you don't make the selfish, quote unquote, decision to work out for 45 minutes 2 or 3 times a week, to go for a walk, every single day, to, watch your nutrition, whether it be track your food or, make sure you're losing weight to stay healthy. If you don't do those things that feel selfish, you're going to have to deal with the reality potentially of like feeling even more selfish of having to rely on your kids to take care of you, to cook your food, to feed you, to do all of these things, to clean you up after you use the restroom. And that's just a reality of like what some of you might go through if you don't take the leap and take care of yourself now. And so like my dad's birthday, really made me think about that of just like, what I saw him go through the last few months of his life. And, like I said, with him, his mentality and just his personality, I know that was so hard on him. And not saying he didn't want to be here still with us, us kids and everything. But I think like at some point you get to a point where like you just can't do anything with your body and you're relying on everybody for everybody else, that it feels like, "Oh, okay, I just wish things would end, and I'm sure he was partially to that point, because he did feel so selfish having to rely on us to do all of those things. So if you aren't selfish now, you're probably going to be forced to be selfish in those other ways later. And would you rather be selfish choosing to work out and telling your son or daughter, hey, like I'll play with you in just 30 minutes when I'm done with my workout and mommy will have your full attention, at that point? Or do you want to be selfish having them have to take care of you in those ways that I mentioned with my dad? And like, let's move on to my mom now, right? Like, I think back to my mom's situation too. And she passed away 2 years before my dad did. And she was kind of the same way. She didn't work out, didn't exercise, didn't pay attention to her nutrition really. And she, was overweight, had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, I believe. A high blood sugar, and she ended up dealing with some extreme osteoporosis as well. She, about, I think it was 2 or 3 years before she passed, she ended up breaking her femur. And it was a very freak thing where she just didn't even know she broke it, which is kind of insane to think about. Breaking your femur, I believe it's one of the biggest bones in your body, but breaking that without even realizing it and going to the doctor and finding out you broke your femur because you were dealing with so much pain trying to walk. And she was in a wheelchair for the last, I believe it was, 2 years of her life, essentially, maybe even three. And she spent so much time trying to recover from that. And when you are not lifting weights and resistance training, you are your bone mineral density is declining as you age. And if you are not lifting weights and resistance training and taking care of yourself, like that will continue to get worse and you're more likely to deal with those issues. And on top of that, she just was in general out of shape. It was hard for her to move around. So having a broken femur and trying to get that to repair itself and recover to be able to walk on it when you are maybe 100 pounds or more overweight is a lot more difficult than if she were to have been at a healthy body weight, right? It's not going to completely eliminate the issue, but breaking your femur spur of the moment without even realizing it from just walking, like she didn't even fall from what I remember, is something that somebody who lifts weights and exercises regularly and eats nutritious foods and maintain a healthy body weight, it's something that it just doesn't really happen. So that could have been hypothetically, prevented if she was taking care of herself more. And she was in this wheelchair for the last 2 or 3 years of her life. And part of the issue with the wheelchair is you're not able to walk around and move much, and that can cause your digestive system to slow down and your bowels to not move food through it properly and this and that. And she ended up dealing with somewhat of like a bowel obstruction before she passed. And then that led to, I can't remember the exact name of it. I don't know why I'm blanking of it, but a perforated colon, I believe it was, where now she ended up becoming septic and that's how she died. And it was very sudden. Like she was in the hospital, I think, for less than 48 hours. And they didn't really necessarily know what was wrong until it was time to do emergency surgery because something was just simply not right. And then she passed like before they even started surgery. And, her situation, like if she would have maintained better health and exercise regularly, maintain a healthy body weight. One, there's a good chance, she wouldn't have dealt with that fracture because her bones would have been stronger from actually taking the time to exercise and lift weights and eat well. And then also her recovery, hopefully, likely wouldn't have taken so long and she would have been able to get moving more. And that could maybe have prevented the issue she was dealing with her colon before she passed and this and then. There's so many what ifs, right? Like you can't predict everything and you can't reduce your risk 100%. And, whether it was meant to be, you can have your own beliefs and everything. But overall, the message I'm trying to get at is like, you, especially if you're a parent and a mom, the most unselfish thing you can do is do whatever you can to be here for your kids as long as possible. And if that means taking some time to, hey, I can't give you my full attention because I am going to work out for the next 30 minutes, but that's okay. Once I'm done working out, I'm going to give you my full attention afterwards to play, to have fun, while also at the same time if you're taking care of yourself, if you get to a healthy body weight, if you exercise regularly, you are going to have more energy to do those things with them, to run around. I spend so much time with my son every single evening once he's home from daycare and after we eat dinner, running around our living room. We have a little basketball hoop where we have these plastic basketballs, and I'm always playing basketball with him. I'm running around the couch constantly chasing him. I'm always moving with him. He loves to like move around and play like that, but I'm always moving. And if I was not taking care of myself, if I was not lifting weights to be strong, if I was not going on walks to make sure cardiovascularly I can just keep moving and have the energy to, if I wasn't taking care of my body weight and I was 40, 50 pounds overweight, where if I was on my feet too much, I would get too tired, or maybe my foot would start to hurt, my feet would start to hurt, and I would deal with foot pain, I wouldn't be able to be as active with him. And I would have to say no to him during these situations where I can't say yes. And that would be selfish. And I think about all of these times where he wants me to put him on his shoulders, or even, now my daughter, I put her on my shoulders sometimes and I hold her tight because she's only like 6, 7 months old. But if I wasn't staying strong, I wouldn't be able to lift him up to get on my shoulders, or I wouldn't be able to put him on my shoulders while I'm sitting on the ground and squat him up like I could. And I think about even, my wife, if she wasn't strong enough, she wouldn't be able to lift him up to be on her shoulders either. And those are fun moments for your kids. And so what's more selfish, right? Just in the short term, satisfying, them wanting your attention, right away? Or is it more selfish to do that and sacrifice all of these other moments and times that you could spend with them? Or is it more selfish to like spend the time to actually take care of yourself? And I would say it's more selfish to do the short term comfortable thing of skipping a workout or taking the easy, convenient route when it comes to food always, and dealing with these health issues and physically being incapable to have as much fun with them versus, hey, I'm going to invest the time and effort and maybe even money financially into getting in the best shape that I can. So I can do those things with them now, but also I can live long enough to do those things with them later on. And, something I was talking to this client who just signed up about too is a financial investment of hiring a coach. Yeah, like it can feel like a lot and it can feel like, oh, this is something I don't really, like what if I sat you down and let's say I was a time traveler or someone who could see the future. And I was like, okay, you know, right now you're 50, 60 pounds overweight. And if you don't learn how to lose weight the right way and start taking care of your health now, you are going to die at the age of 70 years old. And when you're 70 years old or 60 years old, whatever it may be, your your kids are going to be maybe just a year or two away from getting married, and then a year or two away from having kids. And you are going to miss out on seeing your kids get married, and you're going to miss out on seeing your kids have their own kids, and then you actually becoming a grandparent at this point and having grandkids and all of the fun that comes along with that. You're going to miss out on those moments if you don't start taking care of yourself because you're going to die before then. And maybe it's a college graduation, maybe it's some other kind of event. But if you don't take care of yourself now, you're going to miss out on all of those special moments. But if you spend, let's say, $3,000 for coaching for a year, or 4,000, or 2,000, whatever it may be, whatever it is, you spend this amount of money that right now feels a little bit too much or unnecessary for you, or feels like I don't know if I want to invest that much. But because it teaches you to lose the weight the right way, to keep it off forever, to be as healthy as you can be, and teaches you all of these skills that then you can take with you for the next 20, 30 years of your life and maintain. And it buys you an extra 10, 15 years of your life because you got rid of those health issues and you actually learned how to maintain it. Would it be worth it to you? And I think if you were faced with that, and so many of you were faced with that decision of, hey, would you pay, you know, a few $1,000s for a year's worth of coaching if that meant I'm going to be, or you're going to be able to see your kids actually get married and be a part of their wedding, or you're going to actually be able to see your kids have kids and meet your grandkids and play with them and experience those moments of seeing, that baby boy or baby girl, similar to how you felt probably when your kids were actually born. Are you willing to invest in yourself to be able to experience that? Or are you going to say no and miss out on all of that? And I guarantee, I would say virtually all of you would choose to, like, take my money. I want those extra 10 years of life. And that's the conversation we're really having. We're not having this conversation of, hey, spend this amount of money to be able to look good in a bathing suit. Yeah, that's part of it for sure, and we help clients do that all the time. But a big part of this is like actually gaining years of your life, which is really invaluable because, I mean, once your life is gone, depending on, whatever you believe, you might have a thought like things are over then. And especially coming from myself, who my mom passed away 3 months before I got married. And so she missed out on being able to have that experience with me of being at my wedding and being a part of that. And she missed out on, like she missed out on the mother-son dance that, is typical at weddings. And I was blessed to be able to dance with my two sisters, instead. But, she missed out on that. I get to miss out on that. And, my dad, he passed away, like I said, 2 years sooner, or 2 years after that. And he passed away about a year before my son was born. So both of my parents missed out on meeting, my son Aiden, and then obviously my daughter Isla now, and missed out on being able to meet their other two grandchildren. Who were able to, luckily be around for my nephews. But those are things that they missed out on. And, me as their child, their kid, I missed out on being able to experience being a dad, like, in bonding over that with my dad, right? Like, I didn't get to share that necessary bond, or even with my mom, like being a parent and kind of bonding with her in those moments of like, I understand what it's like to be a parent now, and understand why sometimes I, as a kid, was frustrated because I wanted to do this or wanted to do that, but we couldn't. And those are moments I really wish I could have all the time. And I really wish my dad and my mom could see all of the just funny and quirky things my son does and laugh at those things with me. And same thing, with our daughter Isla now. And just those moments are so worth it. And I don't know if anybody in their right mind would be like, investing, whether it's, like I said, the money, or investing the time in taking care of themselves. I don't know if anybody, when they're actually on their deathbed, would say, man, I regret investing that money that gained me, 5 to 10 years at least more of my life. And I think people who, don't take care of their health because they are afraid to invest, and I think they regret it. So that's the real conversation that we're having. And I think it's investing in your health, whether it's financial or time, is one of the least selfish decisions you can make, because you get to then experience all of those things with your kids and with your grandkids, because those moments will be missed by them. And I think I'm a clear example of that, of those moments being missed by me. And not even that, just to add on top of that, when you invest in yourself, whether it's time or money, to learn how to lose weight the right way and be healthy the right way and exercise, those habits and that knowledge you gain pass on to your kids. And those are things that your kids will be able to take on with them as they grow older. I love getting messages from our one-on-one clients where, like, it's either pictures or even text messages or even videos of their kids who are maybe like 6, 7, 8 years old, like joining in on their workouts with them and having fun with it. Right. Not working out because, oh, they think they need to lose weight, but just having fun and being physically active or, seeing pictures of their kids or getting text messages from their kids of them, eating some of the healthier food that they're now starting to eat, being able to see, like, I think we had a client who her daughter recently joined the weightlifting club at school, which is really cool. And all these things. So not only are you helping yourself and helping your own health and your own body, but you're also helping your kids' health and their own body and their relationship with exercise and food by learning these things and leading by example as well. This morning, I was having breakfast with my son, and I talk to my son about nutrition sometimes just for fun. And I was teaching him about strawberries, and I was like, okay, what do strawberries have in them? And he's like, carbs. And I was like, okay, what do carbs do? And he's like, they give you energy. And so it's just cool. And then I was like, hey, what does yogurt have in it? And he said protein. And then I said, what does protein give you? And he says muscles. So these are all things I'm able to teach him. And, he's just 3 years old. And I can really teach him all the benefits of nutrition that aren't just centered around weight loss and shrinking yourself and fat loss, but also about just fueling yourself the right way and being strong and staying healthy. And those are things I'm going to be able to, pass on to my daughter too. And, I can't tell you how many times I'm down in the gym and I have to bring my son and daughter down with me because they wake up early, in the morning. And my son, he's lifting weights with me and he's trying out some of the machines and the cable machine that we have downstairs with zero weight, and he's lifting it and talking about how strong he is. And now I get him to like flex sometimes when we're like just upstairs. And the one day I asked him, before bed, I asked where he gets his muscles, and he said the gym. And I never even told him that actually. I never like actually physically say, hey, you get muscles in the gym, but he just kind of connects those two. Like these are all things, he's learning because I'm leading by example and I'm doing it. And these are all things that your kids can learn too the right way by you leading by example. So you're not only investing in yourself time and money wise potentially to better yourself, you're investing it to lead by example. So your kids can have a better future too, which then is going to pass on to their kids, so your grandkids, and it trickles down so much. So just this topic was on my mind because I think so many moms feel so selfish with it. But I promise you, it'll be the least selfish thing you do in your entire life is investing time or money into your health to do things the right way and set a good example for your kids and your family. Hopefully, this was eye opening and helpful. And that's all I have for today. Hopefully, it was a good one because I felt a little bit rusty because I haven't been on here lately. But yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed this one, please share it on your social medias. Share the link, share with a friend, family member, whoever you think might need to, hear this. So that's it. And I will see you guys in the next one.